Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mixed Media Mania Fall 2018 edition, which is an incredible YouTube hop featuring incredible mixed media artists and a slew of amazing prizes from companies like UmWowStudio, Viva Las VegaStamps, 7 Dot Studio, Brush Magazine, Mixed Media Place, Mixed Up, Ranger, AALL Create, just all kinds of awesome companies. So make sure you comment on all of our stops in this hop. This is the project that I'll be creating with you called Date Unknown. It's a resin paper mixed media collage, and it's really fabulous. I love this project. It means a lot to me. I think all of our art probably means a lot to all of us. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to show you some really cool techniques here. The very first part of this video is all about making resin paper. So I have a bunch of things here, including old book pages. I have this amazing new tissue paper by Tim Holtz. I have some jelly prints that I've done using my Gelli Arts jelly plates and UmWowStudio stencils and Amsterdam acrylics. I have a crappy chip paintbrush. I have some measuring cups. I made sure to put some gloves on. PSA, public service announcement. When you're working with resin, which is what these two bottles are, part A and part B, one is the resin, and then the other part is a catalyst, a hardener, and so I'm pouring equal parts into each measuring cup, part A and part B. And it's very imperative that they're 1-to-1 ratios. If you have too much of the hardener, then your resin will cure too quickly, and if you have too little, then it will stay tacky forever, and that's pretty gross. I do also have a spatula here. The great thing about resin is once it's cured, as long as you're using a non-porous or non-stick surface like my non-stick craft mat or a silicone spatula, I can peel the resin off of it once it's cured. So I am using a silicone spatula and I am mixing the resin inside my cup. And I'm going to do this for a while because it's clear resin. And this particular clear resin by Amazing Casting Products has a 24-hour cure time. So as long as my ratios are done really well, I can stir for a long time. And that's important because we want a very nice, cohesive, really well mixed resin. It's sort of like cake batter. The better it's mixed together, then the better it's going to turn out. And then I'm just using my brush. Now I am very specifically using a disposable brush because once the resin hardens and cures inside of the brush, it will be ruined. So don't use anything like super fancy or expensive. You can even use those foam brushes you can pick up for $4 at any craft store. And remember, I am working on a nonstick craft mat. So I lay the paper down and I do one coat of resin on the top, and then I flip the paper over and make sure to do another coat of resin on the other side. And to be completely honest, I'm not using anything incredibly thick, so I maybe didn't need to do that on all of them, but I would rather be sure than regret later, especially because I'm working with the resin now, and resin is kind of like in caustic supplies. Once you have it out, you kind of want to do all your resin at one time. That way you're not dealing with all these sticky sort of weird substances all over all the time, especially if you're a mixed media artist like myself and you enjoy all types of things. At this current point, I don't want resin mixed in with my cray paws or mixed into my fancier paint brushes or ruining my watercolors or anything like that. So I'm kind of trying to do a whole stack of resin paper while I'm here. And you'll see me kind of moving it around on the mat, just making sure that I have everything covered 100%. I'm also not using like just regular pieces of paper. Some of them are vintage book text. Some of them have been ripped or torn when I've been using them in other collage pieces. And a couple of them are ephemera pieces, digital ephemera pieces from UmWowStudio as well. So that's really cool. And those are really great because you can print them out over and over and over once you've already purchased those. So definitely check those out. Reusable ephemera is really nice. I know that sometimes we're all a little nervous about cutting our pieces of ephemera up. And also, so keep in mind, if you have your own, scan them in. Scan in your ephemera pieces, especially the ones that you really love. So then I did just cover that Tim Holtz tissue paper in resin as well, both sides. And this, I did want to be very careful with this because it is nice and sturdy, but it was the thinnest thing that I had. And then this right here, now the first jelly print that I resined over was on cardstock. This one is on really thin graph paper, so it's really cool because where the acrylic paint is from my jelly print, it is opaque, but where the paper itself is and the resin seeps in and it makes it very translucent, and it's a really cool effect. So I was really excited to have quite a few different pieces of paper to play with and experiment with, and I still have a bunch of them after this project left in my stack, so you'll be seeing some more really cool resin paper stuff from me, and I hope to do a lot more too. So then I'm just gonna, now that I have all these done, I'm gonna let them cure. I just turn the light off, I clean up my mess, I walk away, and then I come back 24 hours later and look at all of these fantastic pieces. They just peeled up right off that nonstick craft mat, so perfect. And I decided to go with the little ephemera piece from UmWowStudio, and I'm going with that awesome tissue tape from Tim Holtz. And then I took a piece of muslin that I had rust dyed, and I sewed it to the top of that tissue tape, and it's really tall. It's like between 4 and 6 inches wide. It's really cool. And then that's also a Tim Holtz hanger, a little clothes hanger, and I'm using it to hang my project on. This is Dreamscapes. This is my paper from 7 Dot Studio. I had this on hand. I thought that I might resin a piece of it, but I didn't end up doing that, and that's okay because I really like a lot of different varied textures in my projects. So I have the paper that has now turned into plastic because I added the resin to it. And then I also have that piece of raw paper like it comes. So the texture is very different. I end up not using that poppy stem from UmWowStudio, so don't worry about that chipboard piece. He disappears. I just go for a more collage feel in the end. Kind of snipped some of that video out there, and then so I'm just playing with adding back in some more texture, like at the top where I have the dyed muslin, rust dyed muslin. And this is just a piece of lace that I have, and I'm just sort of playing with where I want all the pieces to be, the composition. So do I want it a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right? Do I want that piece of paper hanging off, that 6 by 6 inch piece of paper hanging off? So this is where I end up with my final composition. And it's not huge. There's not a ton of stuff piled on, but they're all very specifically selected elements. And so I kind of talked a little bit about that in my Facebook group. Sometimes people say, oh, like your artwork is so perfectly simple. And that used to bother me a lot, but it doesn't anymore because they did add that word perfect, and nobody means that as a derogatory comment. And so this is where my artwork is. This is what I'm creating, and it makes me happy. And if that's really all that matters. If the artwork that you're making makes you happy, just go with it. It might be simple. It might not be as full or as layered as other people's, or maybe it's even more layered than other people's. I just want to say real quick, that's all. PSA, right? Public service announcement. Just be happy. If you're making art and you're happy, that's really what matters. So, all of that is just to say that I layered up a couple more things. I did some stitching, which I love. I love stitching, and I got a brand new sewing machine. I did some stitching to stitch everything together, and it also makes my piece really permanent that way. I added a little bit of washi tape. I did some splattering with some black Daler Rowney ink, and I got out my white Sharpie, and I did some mark making on this gorgeous resin, now resin tissue paper by Tim Holtz, because I added the amazing casting resin. And I'm sort of mimicking the flower and adding in some dots and just doing a little bit of mark making, which I love. And I'm not going to lie, guys, that's it. That baby is done. It's good. I love it. It looks beautiful hanging on the wall. And I'm very excited. So thank you again for joining me today. I'm really excited that you're here. Don't forget to comment and hop on all the other hops, like stop on all the other stops, because guys, the prizes are killer. I also have a prize. I'll be giving away a piece of artwork for being here. So thanks so much for joining me. Subscribe to my channel for more mixed media tips, tricks, and techniques. And you're on to the next guy. All right, so have fun, and thanks so much for joining us, guys.